Imagine for a moment that you do not speak English and you visited Webb Center or a public park. You'd hear voices but not know what they were saying. You'd hear squeals of joy, a call of encouragement, an earnest child trying to explain something to a parent, cries as someone got hurt, laughter, an argument, a scolding, the tender voice of a loving parent. You do not speak the language, yet you would know these things, not because of the words, but because of the way that speech sounds. We speak out of an emotional need to communicate. The words themselves, the information, if you will, allows us to share a context for our feelings, an explanation to more quickly satisfy that emotional need. But the emotions themselves come first. If you visited a pond, you'd hear crickets and frogs filling the twilight with their songs. They too speak from a place of emotional need. What do you imagine they're saying to one another? They could be saying, "This is my part of the pond, step back." They could be saying, "Hey guys, the water's great over here." Or, "Hey sexy, you want to make some tadpoles?" Or they could simply be calling out into the dark, hoping another voice will answer and reassure them that they're not alone. On that same lake, loons, birds, call out to their mates, vocally holding hands as they bid the day goodbye. Wolves cry. They howl to let the pack know that they're present, that they're there across distances, and they bark to alert others of danger. And whales, whose songs carry hundreds of miles in water, we assume are sharing these same feelings. The ocean was once full of whale songs, so populous that they were surrounded by their own voices. And they surely realized that their brethren were disappearing as the seas slowly felt silent with their diminished numbers. All this sound that surrounds us all the time, that need not be translated literally, expressing what we generally call feelings. Speech, to be effective, must not only communicate the information you want to share, but that must be underpinned by your emotional point of view about what you are saying. Without that emotional component, half of speech is missing, and it's limited in dimension and effectiveness. Hi, I'm Keith Flippin. I'm your instructor for Voice 103, as well as THEA 395. Sorry, my notes are down here. THEA 395. I know the university says my name is James Flippin, but that's my middle name, and the university is obsessed with first names, as you may well know. So welcome to these classes. I'll be your instructor. Let's start with why I'm not present these first couple of days of class. I was booked on I'm a film and television actor by profession, and I was booked on a television show called Underground that shoots for WGN and is produced by John Legend. I was supposed to shoot those scenes over the course of the weekend, but they pushed them into Tuesday, so I am obligated to drive to Savannah and shoot those days on Underground. So we will resume class on Friday, September 2nd, when I return. If you're interested in some examples of my work, I've attached a link to my IMDb page as well as a link to my demo reel, but that is really nothing to do with this class other than to frame my understanding of speech and diction. Now, as an actor, I had to learn to convey what I had to say with both nuance and expression, and it took me years to bend my voice to my will, and even then, sometimes my voice betrays me for the same reasons that everybody's voices often betray them. Fatigue, abuse, a lack of practice, and that's why even I, after 30 years of studying speech and diction, have to constantly remind myself to warm up and to practice what I preach. Now, you don't have to be an actor to need this skill. Some of you are watching this because you're in the THEA 395 Voice for Stage class, and you will need this. This is going to be part and parcel of everything you do, and if you don't do it, well, you're not going to be as effective as an actor as you could be if you had control over your voice. It's also the foundation for learning dialects of other languages. For those of you that are here in COMM 103R, I understand. It's a requirement, and I know that about 3/4 of you are here because there is something you want to get out of the class, because there maybe is a specific speech issue that you'd like to address in your own speech, and the other 1/4 of you, you're just here for the credit. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to treat you both the same, all of you, the same. with the same expectation. And that expectation is that you will commit to the process of learning speech and diction, because it can help you. Because at some point in your life, you're going to need this skill, whether you know it or not. Whether you become a professional speaker or not, at some point you're going to be the best man at someone's wedding and need to give a speech, or the eulogy at a loved one's funeral. You might have to speak to the employees of the company that you own, or you might have to organize people in a hurry in a crisis situation, or you may just need to romance someone at home or in the bedroom. Speech is good for all of these uses, and commanding it and having it bend to your will and the mastery of that speech is what is tied to our success in life. If communication is about what we do and what we say, and that's how we influence the world, if you leave out the what we say part, you're missing half of your way to interact with and affect the world. Also, if you claim to have a degree in communications or theater arts, then you damn well better know how to control your speech. And this is as good a time as any to talk about one point that's going to come up in this class. If you have a problem with foul language, then you have a problem with foul language. I do not. But that actually brings up a perfect example of what we were talking about with the animals. Your favorite curse word. Look at curse words. Look at what they do for us. Curse words are the way we channel feeling into sounds. What's your favorite curse word? Say it out loud. Go ahead. Out loud. There you go. Fuck. Shit. Damn it. Asshole. These are satisfying words to say. And for those of you that are perhaps a little more conservative, crap, darn, jerk, asshole. Yes, I said asshole twice, and that's because I think there's an intersection of the Venn diagrams of these two groups of people, and asshole is used everywhere. But what is satisfying about these is not the words you're saying. You're not literally saying feces and coitus and I hope the gods curse you and sphincter. Although, sphincter is a fun word to whip out in an argument, but you cannot stay angry if you're calling someone a sphincter because it's just a funny word. But all of these things, it's not the literal words that give you satisfaction, it's the sensation of those words. If you look at them, they're all about trapping sound and releasing them. Fuck, shit, damn, asshole. We spit these like little emotional, explosive salvos at people to express our disgust and our disdain and our displeasure and our anger. But we also use those same words to express other things. Amazement. Fuck. Or surprise. Damn. So all of these things, we use these words in a way that has nothing. It's not connected to the information in the word at all. It's all about how they make us feel. And that ties in directly to this idea that speech is rooted in emotion. All right, speech and our reasons to speak come from an emotional place. Now, control of your speech is about wielding language like a precision instrument. All right? It's about making sure that the listener can more accurately understand you because you're including the emotional underpinning of what you say. But to do that, we first have to learn how to control our speech. And that's what the class is all about. Now, I'm going to be asking you to do some awkward things, things to develop that control. That may seem silly, but that's the idea of the class, is to break you out of your box and to reteach you how to speak. Now, just as a pianist begins by learning piano and manipulating both hands differently but at the same time, and then fingers individually but at the same time, or a guitarist learns to hold down strings with one hand and pluck them with another, speech is about learning to control the individual parts of the speech mechanism. And if you don't learn how to do that, and if you don't do the exercises that I ask you to do when I ask you to do them, because there's a cumulative effect of working these mechanisms. You add on slowly your understanding, your ability to control these things. If you don't do that, it's going to be like trying to deliver a speech with a mouthful of Novocaine. All right? You won't have the fine detail of control that you need over your speech mechanism to wield it the way you need to. So do the exercises, all right? The warm-ups, the drills, and do them when you're supposed to. And do them continuously. Do them throughout the class, because your ability to harness this technique is based on that. So, that said, let's talk about where speech is rooted. And speech is rooted in the breath, how we breathe. Before we can begin to talk about the rest of the speech mechanism, we have to first address the problems with your breathing. Now you're saying, what? I don't have problems breathing. I breathe every day of my life. I do it without thinking, and you're right. Breathing is an automatic function of the body. Sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it's involuntary. If you had to take a deep breath and hold your breath, that is voluntary. Involuntary breathing is the stuff that we do all day long, the respiration. But when speaking, well, breathing becomes a mix of those two things, and we have to do it properly. Now, we're all born breathing properly, and that is allowing our abdomen to expand and contract as we inhale. But as we grow up, we develop certain physical habits, changes in posture, certain tensions in the body, and especially here in America, an obsession with a flat tummy. And if you are obsessed with keeping your stomach flat, the odds that you are going to be able to let that relax and let the breath expand your belly, making you look a little fat, you're going to have trouble with that. It's going to be a psychological block, and it will interfere with your ability to breathe properly. So let's start with this. Go stand in front of a mirror. Go on. Go. I can talk to you. Go. Stand in front of a mirror. All right. Now, look at yourself in the mirror and take a deep, full breath. And then just let it exhale. And then take another deep, full breath and watch your chest and watch your shoulders. Do your chest and shoulders, does your chest heave or expand? Do your chest push out and do your shoulders rise and fall? If so, then you're not breathing properly. The way breathing works tells us what should and should not move when we breathe. Now, the action of breathing is carried out by a muscle called your diaphragm. And it's a cup-shaped muscle that separates the rib cage from your soft and squishable abdomen and the organs it contains. Your chest cavity, surrounded by ribs, is generally rigid. And so when the diaphragm contracts as you inhale, it pulls down against the cage of the ribs, and it creates a vacuum in your chest cavity. And something has to fill that vacuum in your chest, so the soft and spongy tissue of your lungs expands to fill that void. And as it does, the lungs draw air into them. So the lungs aren't doing anything. They're a passive tissue. But this vacuum you create in your chest cavity when the diaphragm pulls down sucks the lungs into the chest cavity, expands them, and makes air come into your lungs. Now, that diaphragm pushing down moves some things around. It pushes against your intestines and other soft abdominal tissue. So naturally, as it does this, those tissues and your abdomen expand outward. Now, when you relax the diaphragm, when exhaling, it relaxes back up into the chest cavity, increasing the pressure in the chest cavity, squeezing the lungs, forcing the air out of your body, and allowing the soft tissue of the abdomen to return to its natural position. Your abdomen, in other words, will shrink inward. So inhale, the diaphragm pulls down, the abdomen pooches out. Exhale, the diaphragm pushes up, the abdomen shrinks in. Now, when we obsess about and develop a habit of not letting our gut move, something else has to move to create that vacuum in the chest cavity. By spreading the ribs or lifting the shoulders, a tiny bit of room can be made for the lungs that causes them to slightly fill, but that is nowhere near the kind of breath capacity that can be created by allowing the breath to be created by letting the diaphragm push down into the abdomen. Now, standing, it's very difficult to relax because there are so many muscles that are associated with supporting your body weight, keeping you upright, keeping you from not falling over. So the best way to explore breath is by laying down on the ground and relaxing. So that's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to start by paying attention to how you breathe and reset your breathing habits. Now you're saying, Keith, do I really need to do this? I breathe fine all the time. Do I really need to? That's a great question, and here's the answer. Your vocal cords function, all right, when air blows over them and they vibrate. In fact, they only vibrate as air flows over them. Now, the strength of that airflow affects the quality of your voice's sound and strength. Weak breath means weak voice. So rather than a nice full voice, you may end up with something that's a little weaker. And you don't have as many powerful muscles above the diaphragm that can control your airflow as you have below your diaphragm. Above the diaphragm, you have your chest and this rigid cage of ribs. But below, you have the muscles on the front and sides of the abdomen, your lower back, and you also have, most importantly, the most powerful muscles for breathing, the front and the back of the pelvis. So by relearning how to breathe properly, it gives you access to those powerful abdominal muscles. Now these muscles help you portion out your breath and thus speak longer on a single inhalation, give you a burst of vocal strength should you need to shout, and give you greater stamina when speaking for long periods with less vocal fatigue, reducing vocal breaking and wavering. Okay, so the exercise begins by laying down on the floor on your back and just relaxing. Now, wait a second. Can you do that? Can you just relax by telling yourself to relax? Let's try it this way. Take your hands and put them in front of you, like this. Relax, hands. Does it work? Can you just tell your hands to relax? I mean, sure, they're just laying there, but are they really relaxed? Well, no. Muscles, through the day, you develop tensions through using things, so they don't just relax on their own. You have to help them a little bit. Now, when you're at home and you're fatigued, uptight, tense, and you need to relax, what are some of the things that you do when you're at home to help yourself relax? Well, one of the things we do is stretch. That probably looked really weird on camera. But anyway, we can do the same thing with our hands. If you take your two hands, put your left one aside, and using your right one, stretch it and close it. And stretch it and close it and stretch it and close it. That helps it to relax. Another thing you can do, one of the things we do to relax is massage. You can take your left hand and you can massage your right hand. But one of the best ways to relax your hands is to shake them. So shake your hand. Up and down, back and forth. And this won't work unless you're vigorous. You got to really shake it. And then, yeah, that feels a little better. Feels a little more relaxed. Now, before you lay down and do this exercise, it'd be a good idea to stretch. Stretch, maybe do a couple jumping jacks just to get the blood flowing, because blood flow also helps muscle relaxation. But once you do, your job is very simple. You're going to lay down on the floor. I'm going to tilt this ever so slightly. Very good. You're going to lay down on the floor. All right, your knees, that's not low enough. You're going to lay down on the floor. All right. Your knees are going to be at a 90-degree angle, and your feet at 45 degrees to the floor. You're going to lay down on your back. Feels so good. With your hands at your sides, and you're just going to relax. One thing you need, though, before you get too comfortable, you need a book. There we go. I didn't have a book, so I just got a ream of paper. And you put that on your abdomen. Now, you're going to lay on your back here. And it often helps sometimes to put a pillow underneath here, because you're going to want to hold your legs together, because your legs are going to want to do this. And that's, it's not going to make you very comfortable. So you can put a pillow beneath your legs, and you're going to lay on the floor with the book on your abdomen, and you're going to relax. And you're just going to inhale and then exhale. In through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And you're going to relax the abdomen. And you're going to let it expand with the breath. And as you can see, this book is going up and down. As I inhale. The reason it's there is the weight of the book will help you detect the motion of the abdomen. Now, I'm not using the muscles of my abdomen to push the book. It's not that. I'm using the air The motion of the diaphragm moving down, pushing all of this tissue out of the way to do that with the inhalation. Now we call that using the air to lift the book. The air really isn't doing it. It's just the motion of the abdomen as you inhale. But notice the chest is not, just hit you in the microphone. The chest is not moving. That's it. It's a simple exercise. And you should do it for about 20 minutes before you go to bed. Now, once you master this, you can start to inhale on 4 counts and exhale on 4 counts, making sure that you're full of breath when you reach 4 and you're empty of breath when you reach 1, like this. Pretty simple. And that's all you need to do for your breathing exercise. Okay, so breath is where it all begins, and that's at the start of the speech mechanism. And that breath travels up your trachea until it reaches a structure called the larynx, which is also called the voice box. And it contains the vocal folds or vocal cords. Now these are structures made of nerve endings as well as muscles. And what they do is they vibrate, much the way a rubber band vibrates. And that is called phonation. It is sound production. That's all it is. All your voice box makes is, or your vocal cords make, is sound. That's it. And that sound then travels up through your trachea to the back of your throat, and then it reaches all of these structures. It's up here in your head and in the top of the back of your throat, the top of your neck. All of these structures that we use to interrupt that airflow. These are what we call the articulators. So we've got breath, we've got phonation, we've got articulation as 3 of the 4 primary functions in speech. And so we use the articulators to shape the sound to create words. The final of the 4 functions is called resonance. Resonance, and it is because all of this vibration is happening in a part of the body where there are a lot of hollow cavities. You've got your sinuses, you've got your oral cavity, your mouth, you've got the back of your throat. You have all of these hollow areas, and when they are open and free to vibrate, they resonate like the body of a guitar with the sound that you're producing. Now, it adds depth and complexity to the sound. It doesn't give you any added sort of ability to be understood, but it adds a richness. So for instance, if I started to close off all of those pathways, my voice would sound something like this. It sounds pinched. There's no richness to this. It's very flat. It's because it doesn't have access to any of these cavities in my head to vibrate. However, if I start to open up the throat and then I open up the chest, what we end up with is a deeper, richer sound. The actual pitch of my voice has not changed. However, the sound of the voice becomes richer when there are more places for it to resonate. So, breath, phonation, articulation, and resonance. These are the 4 primary functions of voice. So that is the end of our first lesson. Make sure you go over the syllabus, please. There's some very important information in there about the grading scale, about the fact that there is no use of electronic handheld devices in this class. If you're going to take notes, you may take them on a full-born laptop computer, or you may take them on an iPad if you have to, preferably a notebook, but I don't want to see a phone out because there are other things to pay attention to. All right? Commit to the process. I will see you on Friday. Practice your breathing. Be well.